Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Talking Tradesman podcast. With me in this studio today, I have Sofi from the Basic Nutritionist. I get that right?
You got it right.
I've been mispronouncing that for months. It's very apt that Sofi is with me today on the 2nd of January, the typical time where everybody's jumping into diets and nutrition, the gym. We're going to converse over all of this. But first of all, Sofi, thank you for giving up your time, coming sitting down to talk to me today. Nutrition is a huge thing within the construction industry, or particularly bad nutrition. So we're going to talk all about this. But thank you, and let's talk.
Perfect. Excited to be here. And a massive congratulations on what you're doing. I think it's amazing.
Appreciate that. No, it means a lot. No, thank you. I will let you I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself. I didn't try and pronounce your surname because I was going to get it wrong, so I'll let you do that. But tell us a little bit about sort of who you are, your background, and what you do.
Okay, perfect. So my name's Sofi Goncalves, the Basic Nutritionist, not nutritionalist. And my background has always been nutrition. So went to school, went to sixth form, decided to do food technology and absolutely loved it. And for most people, I know that was the lesson that people dossed around in, didn't really want to do much in, but I found a massive passion with it. So decided to go to uni and do nutrition. And my first year while I was there, I just found my calling. Absolutely fell in love with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So once I finished uni, there was no jobs. So I went into online marketing and I absolutely hated it. Stuck with it for 3 years, still looking for nutrition jobs, nothing came about. So I decided to volunteer in a children's centre teaching nutrition to children. So I did that for 6 months as well as waitressing in order to kind of get the income in as it was needed. And then I got offered a job there. So that happened, which was great. And then moved on to a private health company job in nutrition, then NHS, and then got made redundant after my second child. So it's time to go alone. And best decision I ever made. I became the Basic Nutritionist 18 months ago, and it's just
cool.
Blown up.
Because your account is pretty big.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't follow Sofi, go over Instagram. I mean, again, so your handle on Instagram is
at the Basic Nutritionist.
Go and give Sofi a follow. All of her details will be in the episode description below anyway, but go and follow and you can see exactly what she is all about, essentially. It's kind of cool to hear that it's always been your calling. Not many people have that, like knowing that you want to do something from such a point one and going for it.
Yeah, and I didn't think I knew at the time. I just loved it, but kind of it just didn't work out. Every job I got either got made redundant or the job ended or something. So I was like, I've still got to do it. I've got to make use of something I love. So went alone and best decision I ever made.
So essentially, you've been surrounded by nutrition your whole life.
Basically, yeah. It's been really cool. So now we're on kind of doing online courses, teaching people locally, working with nutrition brands. It's just been an absolute whirlwind 18 months, but yeah, absolutely amazing.
And you said you went to uni. So what's the qualification, or where are your qualifications in nutrition?
Yeah, in human nutrition. Yeah,
okay.
So I got a degree in human nutrition, which, as I said, really, really enjoyed. But when I came out, no jobs. So I had to really graft to get that job and kind of create my own perfect job, really, because I just didn't find anything that suited what I wanted to do.
There's a few things and reasons as to why I was so keen to get you on the podcast. Mainly because the podcast is centered around, first of all, mental health. Yeah. Second of all, mental health in construction. But I think anybody listening to this is going to benefit because it isn't just people in construction that have bad diets. We just tend to. So there's those avenues that I want to talk about. But I think the first thing I'd like to go into is that connection between nutrition, your diet, and mental health. So gut, brain kind of thing. So can you explain to me what the link is, or why there's a link and all of that? Because fortunately for you today, you've got the perfect student because I'm completely ignorant. So forgive the ignorance, but I'm going to ask questions from like an idiot's guide to kind of perspective. So I'm going to actively play the idiot today.
Okay, perfect. So massive subject, and it's only recently it's kind of been brought to light of how important the gut-brain connection is. So we have something called our gut microbiome. Have you heard of that?
Yeah. I
So,
have heard little bits. I do like a podcast, so I've picked up on pieces. I'm semi-aware, but I don't really understand it.
Yeah. So hot topic at the moment: gut microbiome, gut health. Gut microbiome basically controls our overall health, weight, mental health, cholesterol levels, immune health. So 70% of our immune system is in our gut.
What is a microbiome?
So your gut microbiome, or any microbiome, is made up of, it sounds disgusting, but it is what it is, parasites, bacteria, fungus, viruses, and we need them to stay alive.
Listen, I've heard of healthy bacteria.
Yeah.
Yakult.
Oh, we'll talk about Yakult. Leave that one there.
But
we will talk about Yakult in a bit. Yeah.
Whoa, controversy. But I've heard of like healthy bacteria through these kind of like drinks, yogurts, stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's probiotics.
Right, okay.
So probiotics, different topic, we can talk about that, but basically that is putting the good bacteria in. Mm-hmm. So the more good bacteria we have, essentially, in short form, the better our health is going to be. So we have something called the vagus nerve, which is a nerve that runs directly from our gut all the way up to our brain.
Okay.
And this vagus nerve acts as a motorway, so a 2-lane motorway. So signals up and down to the brain, to the gut, gut to the brain. And it's thought that we have 10,000 messages signaling between our gut and brain the whole time throughout the day. So it is crazy how connected they are. And it's only in the last 30 years that we've discovered that the gut and the brain is connected.
The irony is, I think everybody would have heard the expression "follow your gut."
It's exactly that.
But no, like me myself, you then don't really think too much into it. You hear about what's your gut feeling on that. Yeah. Another common expression.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone really gives any credit to the gut and the thought process situation. Yeah. So, because if you would have asked me connection between food and mental health, I would have probably initially, my thoughts would have been to go to sugar levels and energy spikes and things like that would have been my initial. But you're saying there's more to it than that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the more good gut bacteria that we've got, the better our mental health is. And we know that there's so much to kind of support that now. And the more diverse your gut microbiome is, so the more bacteria, the different ranges of bacteria, the different ranges of viruses, fungi, again, the better.
So there's good and bad.
We have good and bad bacteria. When we have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, that can cause things like depression, anxiety, or be a contributor to those things. Right. So what we put in our gut has a direct impact on our mood and how we're feeling as well. It's so connected, but like you said, so forgotten about or not really thought about. And you think about, like today, not going to lie, super nervous about coming on the podcast. So when you're nervous, it's a kind of thought in your head, but you feel it in your gut. Yeah. So that butterfly feeling, or when you know a situation's not right or a stressful situation, it's all felt in the gut. And that is that connection.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there that suffer with like stress-induced IBS, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, I know, so not to bore you with my life story, but the reason I started studying psychology over 10 years ago was the result of a relationship breakdown, and that had physical effects, the stress of going through that. Okay. That was the first thing that twigged my interest into psychology, was the way that my brain could cause physical effects with my body. So it does interest me. It's probably something I should have studied a lot more by the sounds of it. But it's, I mean, okay, I'm going to throw the questions at you as they're coming up to me, which is, if we have this gut biome that needs the balance, like, how do we monitor that? How do we check that? How do we know if it's good or know if it's bad, or what the levels are?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. Back in the day, you wouldn't have to monitor it because our food would be from the ground. Our food would be animals or plant-based. We didn't have the kind of range of food that we've got now. And food was very simple. The problem is now our food system's so complicated. We do have to monitor kind of what's going into our gut microbiome, because there's things that are beneficial, things that kind of are detrimental to our gut microbiome. So how to monitor it, and all nutritionists talk about poo, unfortunately. And if you're happy for me to talk about poo, let's go neck
deep in poo. Yeah, that's fine. We're all right with that.
Okay, so a really good way to monitor your gut microbiome is to have a look at your poo. So when you go to the toilet, look at what's going into the toilet. So it should be a mid-brown colour. Yeah, we're going there. We are going.
We're gonna get you got any pictures for us, Sophie?
Well, I can show you. Actually, you should pop it up when you do.
That's it. Yeah,
a Bristol
we'll do
stool
that.
chart. You need there. Bristol stool chart.
Listen, there'll be a reel coming of this, and we'll have So imagine that's there.
Yeah,
it'll be over your head somewhere, just over there.
So mid-brown colour. It should be a sausage shape, maybe with slight cracks, and that's absolutely fine, normal. And get to know your smell. Again, we're going there, guys. The smell of your poo. So everyone has their own scent.
Really?
And that's based on the bacteria you've got in your stomach. Yeah.
Okay.
So if the scent's different or off, that may be kind of something that you've eaten. But equally, if that's going on long term, that could have changed. Something's changed in your gut microbiome.
So you have like your own poo fingerprint.
Basically.
Basically.
Pretty much, yeah. If you want to take it to another level, you can have gut microbiome tests. So again, they're really common at the moment, which, as you probably can imagine, that is a poo sample where you send it off and they check your gut microbes or what's coming out in your poo, what's in there, blah, 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 and that indicates your...
Expense? Is it an expensive process?
That is quite expensive. It used to be around the £100 mark, and now it's kind of tripled since it's become a bit of a hot topic.
Yeah.
But if you want to know kind of what's going on and keep it simple, your poo's the best kind of point of call.
So I guess like this time of year in particular, that's probably quite key because we've just gone through Christmas. We've just come out the other side and people's eating habits will have been completely thrown off. You'll have had a lot more rich food going into the diet, Christmas dinners, parties, more alcohol, all that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming this would be a hot point then for upsetting your microbiome. Would that be something?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you have, everyone has periods where they don't eat how they normally would. So Christmas, birthdays, Easter, any holiday seems to centre around eating foods that are out of our norm. But yeah, now would be a really good time to kind of reset your gut microbiome. And there are hundreds of ways we can do that. I'm happy to go into that if you want.
Let's do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so again, when it comes to diet is one of the best ways of looking after or disrupting your gut microbiome, depending on what you're doing. And it's really, really sensitive to the food that we eat. And I don't know, you said you listened to quite a few podcasts, so ultra-processed foods seem to pop up all the time at the moment.
It was one of the things I was going to ask you today, actually, because in what I feel is that every year there's something new that gets focused on that's bad for you. Yeah. So I can remember times where there was big pushes, for example, salt. Yeah. There was a big salt will kill you. Then it was sugar that will kill you. Then it was like diet drinks. Was it aspartame? Aspartame, yeah. That will kill you. And then ultra processed foods. People going mad about, if you eat too much bacon, you're gonna, that's gonna hurt you. So yeah, processed foods are a big thing at the minute. But one of the big ones I've been hearing a lot about recently is microplastics in food, due to again the culture that we live in. Yeah. We could probably sit and talk for hours because I spent quite some time studying like evolutional psychology. Okay. So i.e., what we're designed to live in versus the society that we now live in. Yeah. And I guess that really centers around food. Absolutely. Because what you just touched on, and that when you said it straight away, I thought, so what you're saying is we're not designed to eat what we're now eating because of the way that it's tampered with so much, essentially. Exactly that. The problem with that is that our society is now so centered around it. To me, it sounds quite difficult to not. Like, how do you step out of that cycle? Yeah, and I don't think you can in the Western world. I honestly think if you live in a town and you buy from a supermarket, it's almost impossible to avoid that. So 90% of the foods in our supermarkets didn't exist 100 years ago. So when you kind of throw that stat out there, I just think it's absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah. Just take a moment. I'll repeat that. Anyone listening to this now, 90% of what you eat did not exist 100 years ago. So how can your body possibly be developed to process that? It can't. And this is why we've got so many inflammatory issues. Again, that comes from the gut microbiome. Yeah. So things like fibromyalgia, that's a relatively new thing we didn't have years ago. Type 2 diabetes, gout. There's hundreds. Would it increase arthritis? Yeah. Arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, reactive arthritis, again, through inflammation. And that all comes from the gut. I noticed that because I suffer with a couple of my fingers. Okay. Knuckle joints. Again, we'll make it about me or go up too far off on one. But have you heard or read the book, The Body Holds the Score? Yes. Yeah, absolutely amazing. And
it's completely spot on.
Yeah.
Completely spot on.
Anyone who hasn't, go check it out. The Body Holds a Score. Really, really interesting book. And the reason I mentioned it is because I've noticed with myself, when I go through periods of like high stress, which I've just been through because of stuff going on business wise, to be honest, like getting the podcast studio ready, and my wife's moved salon, and there's been a lot of stress involved with that. When I get stressed, I tend to find that my joints will swell. Fortunately, I have found that it goes away as well. So, but that's what I've found recently over the last few weeks is I've noticed the stiffness coming in my hands.
Okay. Yeah.
So
stress, massive disruptor for the gut microbiome.
Probably my diet as well, if I'm honest with you.
Well, it's like hand in hand when you're stressed. Well, it depends on you as a person. Me, I can't eat when I'm stressed. I literally just cut out food. I literally can't touch it. Some people emotionally, so they overeat or go for the sugar or the quick fix to get that dopamine.
Yeah,
because you're not getting it from your lifestyle because you're stressed. So again, it just depends on your person. But all of it is central to your gut microbiome. All links back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. And this is one of the key things. I don't want to move away from the science too far, but to bring it back to the reason we're having this conversation is the construction industry is currently the worst industry in the UK for male suicide figures. Okay. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Like the trajectory of it is on the up. Mm-hmm. And I'm sort of trying to explore as many things as I can as to why that might be and how we can help. And nutrition within construction is so notoriously bad. Yeah. And when I think about the reasons why is it so bad, I'd have to lean in towards time. We're always in a rush. There's always the deadlines to meet. It's early starts, late finishes. Convenience food is the big one. It's what can you grab quickly. I mean, if you think about the average builder working on a building site might have half an hour to an hour for his lunch. Mm-hmm. He hasn't got time to go and prepare something in that moment. So unless he's preparing in advance and if he's buying food on the day, it's a meal deal. Yeah, that everybody's going for that. And again, you look at the marketing on a meal deal. I mean, you're going to pick up a meal deal, essentially what they refer to as a 3-course meal for what, I don't know what they are, £3.50, £4 now. You're not going to get anything much cheaper than that. So it's marketed for us to grab. But it's obviously having a big detrimental effect.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think we can blame the meal deals alone, but they are a biggest bugbear of mine, just purely because the food that you get in a meal deal as well quite often are marketed as healthy, and they're not. So we know that on average there's 6 teaspoons of sugar in your average meal deal. Now, that is providing that you're not having your Coca-Cola or your sugary drink. That is just in your food. So might not sound a lot, but that's 30 grams of sugar. Now, we are recommended in the UK to have no more than 30 grams of free sugars per day. So that's sugar added products. So you've already hit that if you're having the meal deal without your sugary drink. So again, it comes back to kind of, we know sugar disrupts the gut microbiome, which can have an effect on the gut-brain connection. So it's all linked. All of it is linked.
What is the link to, say, depression and anxiety and the gut health situation?
Yeah, so lots of different things. So not so diverse bacteria. So the less species of bacteria you've got, the more likely you are to suffer with anxiety or depression.
I take it there have been studies on this.
It's absolutely studied. The last 5 years, I can't remember off the top of my head how many papers there were. So 30 years ago, there was no papers on the gut and my gut-brain connection. And in the last 5 years, I want to say it's 6,000, but I can't quote that. So it's a huge up and coming topic. And I think what I'm talking about today, if I did this next year, I'd have a whole ream of more information because the progression of like the studies are
that's good.
Rapid. It is good.
It's good to know that it's being looked at like that because I guess it's a progressive science in itself.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, I'm going to say it's amazing, aren't I? But I think it's amazing that we can have so much. Well, we can help ourselves so much with our mental health through the things we're putting in our body.
Again, I'd bring back another common saying that people probably say a lot and they never really pay any attention to, but you are what you eat. 100%. And that's been said for so long. Yep. Maybe it's just me that's actually more ignorant than the average person, but I don't think really, like, it's not a topic of conversation in an average household, and by the signs of it, it really should be. But how often do you sit down with your friends or family and talk about nutrition or what your nutritional plan might be? how you're looking after your nutritional health. It really does go by the by.
Well, you're asking the wrong person, because that is a question that is
In your
something I
house,
ask
yeah,
people quite a
absolutely.
lot.
Okay, I'm talking about my house. But now I'm thinking about it, it's kind of readjusting my mindset just as we're talking, because I think my relationship with food, and I use myself as an example because I'm assuming I'm quite a good example of a person in the trades, is, I guess, functional in terms of I feel like I have to eat, therefore I do,
Yeah.
rather than, it's not something I allocate time to as something, I don't know, like that I see as something I enjoy, maybe.
Okay.
Even though the ridiculous thing is when I feel I have time to cook, I enjoy cooking.
Okay.
But I don't allocate it as a necessity. But I think for me personally, that's probably an overall fault in terms of not prioritizing my needs.
Yeah.
Which again, I think a lot of people in construction will resonate with, because we've got this ongoing that sort of theme of overwork,
Yeah.
burnout, being time poor.
Yeah.
I think that's where it stems.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people see food as just fuel that they just need to eat, rather than thinking, okay,
Yeah,
what is in this
exactly
meal?
that. Yeah.
How am I supporting my body with what I'm eating? So it's almost switching the narrative a little bit around food and really thinking, okay,
Yeah.
what do I need to support my gut? Because especially as tradesmen who are mostly self-employed,
Yeah,
if you haven't got health, you haven't got anything.
exactly.
Especially as a self-employed person, you know, as you know, I was ill for 3 weeks. It's like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, I can't be ill. I can't afford to be ill. So, you know, really focusing on those daily habits, or what you're putting in your body daily, just long term is going to benefit you more than thinking, okay, I better have one good meal, or I better spend some time here making my food.
The really strange thing, I'm like analysing myself and my behaviour while you're talking. The really strange thing, about the whole meal deal situation is, I think to myself, if I go and get a meal deal, which I'm guilty of doing on quite a regular basis, I kind of think, well, if I've had those 3 items, that means I've eaten.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's just me. I've been absolutely like hypnotised by the marketing of it, but that's how my head works.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a box ticking exercise for me.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of not stopping.
Yeah.
So when I turn up to work in the morning, I tend to work until I go home. I don't really have breaks.
Yeah.
I do eat lunch, but it's generally eating on the fly. So I'll eat while I'm working, or might be waiting for something to dry or waiting for something to go off, and I'll wolf some food down.
Yeah.
But to me, I think in my mind, I'm going, right, sandwich, tick, bag of crisps, tick, drink, tick. Okay, I've eaten. Now I can carry on.
Yeah, it's interfering with your day. So
Yeah.
tick done. I've eaten food. Get my words out. Food for fuel, not for nourishment.
Yep.
So it's a short term, right, in this day, looking at the day, yeah, tick box for food. Long term, actually, is that sustainable long term for your health?
Well, probably not. But I think because we've got this very short term mentality generally in society now, I think it just gets masked, and the education isn't there either. I mean, I think if there were like public health bulletins, because you've got to think that the way that we're going with eating as badly as we do now, it's going to have a knock-on effect for the NHS. It's going to, I read an article a few months ago, and it was focused on the main cancers in men, the skyrocketing of like bowel cancer and prostate and everything to do with the like digestion system. Yeah. There's a lot more cancer. Do you know anything about that side of things?
Yeah, so we've got a chronic fibre deficiency, and we know fibre actually helps prevent colon cancer and bowel cancer.
Where do you get fibre?
Fibre, your whole foods, so that would be fruit, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, legumes, those kind of things.
Okay.
The problem is they're boring foods. They're not sexy. They don't kind of, they're not as good as looking at something that says high protein, eat me, I'm healthy, which we see on the market all the time. Yeah. Anything with a health label for me is a red flag. If it has to tell you how good it is, so that would be something I'd be putting back on the shelf.
Okay.
So that is a different topic, kind of going off kind of...
No, not at all. Not at all. So first thing, explain to me what a whole food is. Is that as simple as it sounds? It's like one ingredient food?
One ingredient, whole foods. Yeah. Okay. And again, simple nutrition doesn't sell, and that's why you don't see people promoting it. It's not a miracle cure. It's not kind of a fancy potion or pill, which people are after for this. I think people look for this I need to eat this. This is going to make me healthy. Actually, it's a consistent amount of whole foods is the best thing we can do for our health.
Give me an example of a whole food midday meal.
Okay. On the job, doing what you do, or I've made that difficult.
Something that you could put into the trades. Yeah.
Okay. Can't go wrong with boiled eggs. I talk about boiled eggs all the time. Bit stinky, but great. Eggs nutritionally complete, one single ingredient. We could go for fruit, vegetables. You go for a nice salad. Probably not going to sustain you long term if you're doing physical labour. Switch it up with a jacket potato or some kind of stuffed jacket potatoes. Again, this will require pre-planning, pre-prepping. But if you're eating from garages, if you're eating from Greggs, if you're eating from McDonald's, you can't find whole foods very often. And the grab and go culture that we've got with foods don't often offer these whole foods at all. So I think unless you prep or kind of prepare your week with food, it's a hard game.
So prepping is key, isn't it?
Prepping is key, yeah. There's a few things you can grab at the supermarket, but nothing exciting unless you're going to prep, which is the long and short of it.
I'll throw another question at you here. I have forgotten to prep today, right? Yeah. I've gone out on site. I'm working miles from home. I can't get back home. I have got to go to a supermarket to grab lunch. Okay. Is there anything that I can... Is there any such thing as a meal deal that would not be bad for you? Is there anything that you could go into the supermarket
deal or just in the supermarket in general?
Both. So Can you get a healthy meal deal? Or maybe not, maybe healthy is too far. Not bad.
Not bad. Without going into good and bad foods, I don't know. With your meal deals, it is hard work. So most of them are ultra processed.
If the answer's no, the answer's no. We can't.
I'm just trying to go through what would be in a meal deal. Sushi is probably your best bet if you eat sushi, but again, low energy. So if you're doing a highly manual job, then probably isn't going to sustain you for lunch. Your fruit, you're very limited.
Struggling.
I'm struggling.
Avoid the meal deals. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
So what I would do if we weren't going to go for the meal deal, go to the back of the shop because the bakeries are always at the back. Go and get yourself an organic bread roll, which they all do now, 2 or 3 ingredients. Get yourself a slice of cheese, whole cheese. Get yourself some butter and make your own sandwich. There you've got a simple meal. You know exactly what's in it.
Cheese. Why am I thinking that cheese is bad? Cheese is full of fat. Cheese is not bad for you, no?
Because fat has been demonised.
There we go.
And a few years back, like you said, about every year there's something, there was a big push on fat. Fat from a natural source is needed. It's helped to make hormones. It helps us. So if we didn't eat fat, we wouldn't be able to produce serotonin, our happy hormone, which is obviously something we all need. Fat is essential to life, but again, the diet culture grab hold of that about 10 years ago and just completely demonised it. And loads of people are scared to eat fat.
Yeah.
But actually, long term, especially doing the jobs that are kind of on the trades, that's something that's going to keep you fuller for longer.
Healthy fats.
Healthy fats.
I think that, you're making a really consistently good point there in terms of energy, because manual jobs you do. And again, I think that's one of the problems with meal deals, isn't it? They're packed full of sugar. Yeah. They're packed full of that quick burst energy that probably make you feel crap afterwards. Absolutely. But you get that 2-3 hours after eating it of like, right, I'm good to go now. Yeah. How can you replicate that energy, top up rejuvenation in a healthy manner?
So again, it comes back to whole foods, and I know it's boring to keep talking about whole foods.
It is what it is,
but it is what it is, yeah. And again, the meal deal are quick fixes, like you said. So you get a huge blood glucose spike, feel good when you're in that spike, all the energy. And then when you have that dip, you're looking for that spike again. So you're more likely to keep going for those kind of quick fix foods, which again, short term, and your blood glucose is up and down like that. Now, if your blood glucose is up and down like that, the likelihood is your hormones are, which again is linked to your mood and how you're feeling. So at the end of the day, when you're having that huge crash, a lot of the time, yes, you might have burnt energy, but it could be what you're eating as well. So again, it's all linked.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating, and it's really important given the situation in the trades, and also I feel victimised because I feel like half of the meal deals and stuff like that are targeted at us.
100%.
You look at Greggs in the morning, and look, hands up. I'm not pointing fingers here. I'm probably in the queue. But if you look at Greggs in the morning, it's all trades. It's all builders, scaffolders, the likes.
Yeah.
We're all stood there. Again, the quick thing, the value is decent, to be fair. You can get a bacon sandwich and a coffee for about £3.
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to, I convince myself it's quicker. And the reality is it probably really isn't.
No.
Because if I've got to leave a job site to go to a local shop to get this meal deal, to turn around, go back to the job site and eat it, over the course of a week, the hours involved, it probably would be quicker to prep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we've been, I don't know, almost like you said, duped into thinking that we're too busy all the time, so we need these meal deals. But actually, like you said, if you prepped, I don't know, a pasta on a Monday, pasta bake or pasta salad or something on a Monday, you can still be eating that on a Thursday, dollop it in a tub, take it to work.
Yeah.
It is a switch in mindset, and that's not just trade. I don't think that is everybody. We've kind of been fooled into thinking this is what we need to be doing when
and by the sounds of it, just in general, not really allocating enough time to eating. I mean, traditionally, here's another, I'm a painter and decorator by trade, so I see the way that people's houses are changing.
Yeah.
Dining rooms out of fashion.
Yeah.
Like, nobody has a dining room anymore.
Yeah.
But years gone by, it would always be that a family would sit down and eat together. Yeah. That's quite rare in my house because we all come in at different times, and we all sort ourselves out now. It's quite rare to have that sit-down meal.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's society in general changing, probably not for the better.
Yeah, fast-paced, everything's fast-paced, get it quick. Working hours have changed for people, so it's the same in our house. Kids have got after-school clubs. I'm working on it most evenings. I work, my partner works in the day. It's just all over the place, so we do have to... I am quite good at food prepping, though, so everyone can grab their own kind of meal that's pre-prepared.
Yeah, do you prep for the whole family?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a geek with it. I'm a bit anal with it.
Listen, if it's what you do, it's what you do, isn't it? You couldn't preach to other people and have your own. You'd be going to get a meal deal. So.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If I'm out, I get caught out. I would go for a meal deal sometimes, begrudgingly. But I stand there and I think, what do I pick? Obviously, knowing what I know, it's like, where do I go with this?
Do you know what? That's kind of good and bad to hear at the same time, because if somebody like you that's educated in it would go into these places and struggle to find anything good, it kind of lifts a little bit of the weight off me thinking, am I just picking all the worst things? It's just more of a case of there is nothing good to pick from those establishments.
It's the food industry's fault. It's nobody's fault. And we're not educated on what we should be taking in. Like you said, it's not a thought that you should go and pick a meal deal and you assume it's healthy. It's, you see the health labels on the front saying healthier choice or healthier recipe, lower sugar. Most of the time it's not. If it's lower sugar, it tends to be higher in something else. It's all over the place. It's not regulated enough, and we're not taught enough about it.
Another question for you around processed foods.
Yeah.
What makes a food processed?
So the definition of a processed food, it has to have one thing done to it. So, for example, semi-skimmed milk would be classed as a processed food because it's had some of the fat taken out of it. Now, not so worried about processed foods. We all have them, and we have done since day dot. Ultra-processed foods.
Okay.
That's where the problem is. So that's the one that you keep hearing about at the moment. Kind of a buzzword at the moment.
What's an ultra processed? Give me an example of a common ultra processed.
Ultra processed foods would be, let's think, bag of Doritos comes to mind.
Okay.
Crisp chocolate sweets, and all of those kind of junk food, I'd say, is what you'd think about. The definition of an ultra processed food is something that can't be recreated in your kitchen. So it's got ingredients in there that are lab made, factory made. You can't buy off the shelf and make in your own food.
Right.
But when you start reading the labels, especially on the meal deals, so next time you go in, look at the back of the label, have a look at the ingredients on there. And most of them have got things you've never heard of, you can't pronounce. And on the courses that I teach, I always say, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. But it eliminates like so much of the supermarket foods. It's just crazy.
And why, play devil's advocate, why are they in there?
It's cheaper than Whole Foods, so it's cheaper to make, bigger profits. ultra processed foods are always on offer. You'll never see whole foods on offer. And that's because actually to take the time to grow them or to rear an animal, that takes time. Time is money. So they just keep putting more ingredients in, makes it faster for them, cheaper for them, cheaper for us. So we're more likely to then keep buying it because, like you said, Greg's full of ultra processed ingredients, meal deals, they're dirt cheap. So you think, oh, well, quick and cheap.
Exactly that. Yeah. Yeah.
But actually cheap in money, but for your health.
And okay. If you lived, trying to think of a way to really demonstrate how bad it is for you.
Yeah.
If you were to live on ultra processed foods, like, why is that so bad? What would that do to you?
Yeah. So again, it comes back to gut microbiome. We were only designed to eat what is in nature. That's what we're designed to do. Our bacteria are there for that. When we start introducing chemicals and ingredients that weren't originally there or weren't originally in our diet, it causes inflammation. So it may take a while. So I hear people say it all the time, oh, well, I've been eating this all my life. 2 points there. One, okay, it can cause a buildup. So it takes time for that inflammation to start. And two, what you were eating 20 years ago probably doesn't contain the same ingredients as now, because ultra processed foods have only kind of come about in the last sort of 15, 20 years.
Okay.
And those ingredients, we don't know how to process them. We weren't designed to process them in the body.
It's weird, actually, when you think about it. You shouldn't really be eating something created in a lab, should you?
Absolutely not. Yeah, and there's things like the lab-grown meat. Off topic, but one of my biggest bugbears is the vegan and vegetarian substitutes. If you read the back of those, I mean, half the ingredients aren't even real foods or ingredients, yet we've been promoting those.
Out of interest, are you vegan, vegetarian? No. Okay. Yeah, I mean, things like the fake. I've got to admit, right, it was a couple of years ago. This we had a barbecue, and somebody that came was vegan or vegetarian, one of them, and I got asked to try one of the burgers. I was told I wouldn't taste a difference. Legit, I didn't.
Okay.
It actually tasted, whatever it was, tasted like meat, which was bizarre.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that was probably full of all this.
Well, what plant do you know that tastes like meat?
Yeah.
So what have they done to that to make it taste like meat? Like, it's wild.
Yeah, it's billed as being the healthy option because it's vegetarian.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the problem with our food system. It isn't our fault. It's just so deceptive. It's so it's mind-blowing.
It's market. I mean, one of the things, to sort of, so it's not a case of everyone's just out there being stupid. Like, now you're sat there saying it all, I'm sat here thinking, ooh, she's got a point. But we're up against these massive powerhouses of like supermarkets. And I studied the evolution and growth of the supermarket system when I studied social science as part of my psychology degree. And supermarkets have got a lot to blame, like, when it comes to the downfall of the high street, and there's so many things. And just to illustrate what I'm talking about quickly there to anyone listening, the reason why your high streets are no longer full of bakers, butchers, and those kind of things, I mean, actually our town's got a few of those, but most high streets don't, is because of supermarkets. Your local shops selling local produce just don't really, or can't exist anymore because they can't compete.
Yeah.
And they've been priced out of competing by the supermarkets. Yeah. So there's a lot to blame there. But when we're struggling to like eat healthily, I mean, we're up against these huge corporations with untold budgets. Not only do they employ people for marketing, but these companies, they employ psychologists because they know, like you mentioned there, baker is always at the back of the store. Where is the meal deal? It's as soon as you walk in.
Grab and go.
9 times out of 10, those particular shops, I mean, I went in a garage today, and as soon as I walked in, literally 3 feet in front of the door is the, I don't know what it was termed. It might have been like quick grab or grab and go or something like that. Anyway, but that was where all like the meal deal stuff was. Yeah. As soon as you walk in, straight in front of your eyes. And as you said, there's a reason that they, like, supermarkets don't put things out in a particular way for no reason, like, because minor adjustments in their displays is millions of pounds.
100%.
So everything they do is to manipulate the consumer to buy what they want you to buy. The terminology, the advertising, the marketing, everything.
Yeah.
And as you said, if you're going to promote a product and ultra processed is cheap to buy and you can get better profit margins, that's what you're going to push, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I've recently wrote a course very much on that, on ultra processed foods. And one of the things while I was writing the course, I did a bit of research, and the scientists, they get in, they put people on brain scans and then get them to eat. I always use Doritos because they were the first in like the marketing of this. Get them to eat a Dorito.
Are Doritos particularly bad, Sophie? Is that what is that what we're getting at?
Well, no, but there's a book called The Dorito Effect, and it is mind blowing. So if you want to know more about flavors and how they get you to kind of eat the flavors or want the flavors more, that's a really good book to read. But okay. Dorito was one of the first companies to kind of trial this and use this scientist to kind of get you to buy more. So they put you on a brain scan, get you to eat this Dorito, and if kind of the areas of the brain didn't light up enough, they'd add more of a certain ingredient, so that it's engineered beyond belief to make you want more. And ultra processed foods are hyper palatable, so what that means is that the more you have, the more you want.
I heard something the other day, I can't remember where I heard it or what I was listening to, but talking about Pringles. The face says it all. And the fact that Pringles are not allowed to, because I assume, right, if you talk about Pringles, I think crisps, I think potato.
Yeah.
But am I right in thinking there's no potato in Pringles?
No, it's potato powder.
It's some processed like mush or something that...
Yeah.
Because there was some legal case where they can't call them... Is it... I don't know which way around it is. They can't call them crisps. Is that right?
Because can't call them crisps. They're more like a cake than a crisp, is what I've seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, they get it's disgusting. They get like this gluey dough and push it into the mold, so you get that shape. But it's potato powder and then chemicals and kind of other ingredients all mixed in. It's wild. Yeah.
But how else would you get that shape?
Well.
they're literally like their thing is once you pop you can't stop,
and it's true because they're hyper palatable. You can't stop eating them because of the process. And so they're not lying, they're actually telling you blindly, like, if you eat these you're going to become addicted to these, you're going to want more. Yet we still do it and think, oh, it's brilliant, what a slogan.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, so ultra processed foods, I think, going into that, again, we vote with our wallet. So the more you buy, the more you'll see it on your shelves. The less you buy and the more whole food you go, the less they'll make. So if it's not making money, they won't see it on the shelves. You won't see it in the supermarkets.
What about, for example, a couple of years ago, I went through a stage when I was training a lot more. I was in the gym and that kind of thing. And if I had to go to I was a lot better with my prep then. I'm terrible now. This last year has been off the charts. My probably worst nutritional year on record because of everything I've been doing. And I've sacrificed my own personal health in order to do that.
Yeah.
I'm convincing myself it's time, but I probably did have time. It's just the way I've allocated things. So it's something I need to look at. But a couple of years ago when I was in better shape, physically, probably mentally, if I'm honest, if ever I got caught short lunchtime, I forgot my food and stuff like that, because I've got the memory of a goldfish, so I would do that on a regular basis. I would go to a supermarket, go to the back of the shop and buy like roast chicken, cooked chicken, something like that. How's about that? Is that any better?
That would be better than going for a meal deal, in my view. Yeah. Not so much in terms of nutritionally complete. So obviously you're getting loads of protein, loads of B vitamins, iron, etc. But you're not having any of the kind of processed breads, the sauces or the chemicals in there. So that would be a better option, yeah.
So processed meat, is that bad? Is that good? Is that like just not as high up on the ultra bad level? Like what is a processed meat compared to an ultra processed meat?
Yeah, it's not as bad. And as you said, there was a massive push on bacon and sausages. Most sausages are ultra processed. There's loads of chemicals now in sausages that never used to exist.
Okay.
And actually, I won't name the butchers. It's a local butcher's here, and I'm terrible. I ask where all the food comes from. People are like, what? But why shouldn't you ask? We went to the butcher's and said, have you got any nitrites in this? Because it's something that I'm interested in finding out. Or is there anything extra in this? Oh, yes, we do add those. I was like, right, what the hell? Ultra processed in the butchers. And I was like, right, so you can't even trust that now. It's not even local meat, which is exactly what you expect when you walk into the butchers.
So again, in my uneducated mind, I think I know I'm taking a gamble when I go down to the supermarket and it's all packaged and all the rest of it. I would assume if I went into a butcher's where it's all on the a cold counter and it's out and they're putting it in bags and weighing it and all the rest of it, that it was, I don't know if I'd assume it was local, but I'd definitely assume it wasn't tampered with.
Yeah, it's not the case anymore. So,
Really?
yeah, God knows where it's from. But all I say is always read the ingredients and always ask about your food. I think people think, we just trust the food industry blind, I think, because it's on the shelves. Well, it can't be that bad for us. They're selling it. It's not the case.
Okay. I mean, we've scared.
I feel like we're all over the place.
We've scared the crap out of everyone. No, not at all. Not it's me. Like, because it's time my head's going. You're saying things. I'm like, I need to ask this. I need to ask that. But I always think with these podcast episodes, if I'm thinking it, other people will be. So I just go with my gut on that. What I want to try and get into is maybe offering a little bit of advice on. I've got some questions as well that were sent in because you've seen I've put a couple of things out on Instagram. So we'll go through them in a bit. But I want to try and get to a point of help. So, like, if people are listening to this now and they're thinking, crap, a lot of what you've just said sounds like my diet. Where's the start point? Like, where do you try and halt that and pull it back a bit?
Yeah. Really good one, because I think we, especially in January, we're very guilty of wanting to change everything all at once. Right, I'm not doing this, I'm going to start this. And it's not sustainable long term. So I'd focus on one meal to start with. What one meal do you have at home where you're not on the go and you're not rushing? Breakfast, lunch or dinner? Work on that one first. Make that predominantly whole foods. So I don't know, let's say breakfast to start with. Starting off with some whole oats, some porridge oats, milk, adding your own fruits, your own seeds in. Then you've got a massive fibre-fueled meal, good to set you up for the day. So that's one. So I'd say, focus on the one meal if you are having a meal at home as your first point of call, and then gradually kind of build that up into every meal. But if you're going to if you are living on ultra-processed foods, which lots of people are, not to change everything all at once, because you are going to have to almost like wean off it and do something that's sustainable.
It's really good advice. I mean, it's very similar to people that start the gym in January.
Exactly that.
First of all, why leave it till January if you're going to start? But second of all, you tend to get people, they'll start the gym in January, but they'll decide to go 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And, you smash your body to bits for 2-3 weeks. Yeah. It's horrible. It's unsustainable. And I would imagine it's the same with diet and nutrition. Yeah. If you try to cut out just 180 your diet, so I'm going to eat no ultra-processed foods and I'm going to try and completely turn it around, I would imagine, that must, first of all, it must send your body into like, what the hell is this? Yeah. Actually, another quick question for you. Your opinion, Huel, any good or not?
I love Stephen Bartlett, but I can't get on board with Huel. So Huel, and again, people think that is a healthier alternative to having food, but we weren't designed to kind of have liquid meals. Yes, nutritionally complete apparently, but it's added vitamins, and we don't absorb added vitamins the same as we do if it's naturally from our food. So I don't like talking badly about Stephen Bartlett's products, but I'm not a massive fan.
Sorry, Stephen.
Sorry, Stephen. Love your podcast.
So do I. It's a great podcast, to be fair. Again, while I'm talking, it pops into my head, and I thought, oh, hold on. I did go through a stage of grabbing Huel and thinking that was better. That when I was, again, I was in the gym and all the rest of it, I felt that, maybe it is. Is it better to grab Huel than a meal deal?
Depends what you're having in your meal deal. In terms of nutrient balance, yes, because they are designed to be nutritionally complete. In terms of long-term health, leave that one there.
It sounds like there's just no way of getting round nature.
There isn't. We weren't designed to. I don't know why we overcomplicate it. I don't know why. If we just stripped it back to basics, we'd be able to eat properly. We'd be more healthy. We'd understand our food. But we're all looking for this. Oh, I need this because it's quick. I need that because it says it's got extra protein. And if you went natural, you wouldn't even need to think about this stuff.
Do you know what, Sophie? I'm sat here doing it. I'm sat here thinking, right, she's telling me everything there is to eat healthily, but ask her if this will work instead. Ask her if that'll work instead. Like, because for some reason, I'll be honest with you, I might as well just level it really. When I think about eating whole foods and eating healthily, I think that's going to take me loads of time that I haven't got. Where do I get all this stuff from? I don't know about it enough to really, I think to myself, could I put together a meal for a day, or meals throughout the day, made entirely out of whole foods, and I think I'd probably struggle, just through lack of education and knowledge. It's that like, okay, I understand there's a problem now, but how do I fix it?
Yeah.
Like, where's the knowledge to do that?
You need to come on my course.
Great point to make here, to be fair. Sofi does do online coaching, you do?
Yeah, so I do online one-to-one coaching, but also the basic course as well. So this is what I first set up when I started out as the Basic Nutritionist. How can I help people make it as simple as possible? No fluff, no fuss. It's literally raw. What you see is what you get.
Okay.
This is what you need to do, or this is what you can do. And sustainable advice that doesn't promote any products, but just strips it back to basics and not endorsed by anyone or anything, just the raw facts. And it's had amazing results because our food system is ridiculous and overcomplicated, and it doesn't need to be.
So, I mean, listen, I'm all for you. Your business is great. So let's talk about that and what you do. In terms of the courses that you do, is it just purely nutrition, or do you do like, and I'll say this from a point of really not knowing, do you monitor people's progress? Is there any like weight, like diet, do you get involved in that or not?
Yeah, so the personal nutrition coaching package that I do. So basically, I call it the hand-holding service. So we have initial one-to-ones, bit of a food plan, but I focus on non-restrictive food plans. So we don't do calorie control, we do nutrient balance. So again, all centered around the gut microbiome and how to strengthen that, because that's going to give you long-term health. Check-ins, we do one-to-one sessions. So yeah, I do that, but we don't focus on weight. Okay.
Yeah. I would assume if you get your diet nutritionally correct, did I say that
That's right?
Yeah. Nutritionally correct. You got me overthinking that word now.
Sorry.
If we get it nutritionally correct, that your weight will fall into line anyway, as a natural. Because I saw an article a while ago, and it compared people doing professional boxing training to tradespeople, and saying that the calorie output is virtually the same. Because obviously we're all athletes, but we do put out a lot of calories. So I would assume if my nutrition was on point, naturally the weight would, get to a healthy level.
Absolutely. And I think if people are looking to lose weight, or to lose inches, whatever you're looking for, again, switch into the whole foods. Without going into too much detail, we have something called nutritional wisdom, where our body learns to know what it needs. So like when you have cravings and stuff, quite often that's when you need that particular nutrient in that food. But since ultra processed foods, that's kind of skewed that, because we've got these artificial flavors or these artificial ingredients that the body goes, hold on a minute, what nutrient is that linked to? We don't know anymore. So it stopped us kind of knowing what we need almost. So stripping it back to whole foods really lets us listen to our body and be like, right, I'm really hungry now, I need X, Y, and Z. Pregnant women, when they get cravings, normally it's because they're deficient in that thing.
Okay.
But actually, when we're eating ultra processed food, we lose that mechanism because these chemicals have taken over.
Yeah.
So again, the cause of weight gain, because we can't listen to our appetite and what we need.
Okay. So I've been on an ultra processed, I'm saying this like it's hypothetical, it's not. I've been on an ultra processed diet, and today I've sat down with you and I've gone, do you know what? I've got to change this.
Yeah.
How long does it take to flush the system, reset the gut? Like how long does it take for all the bad stuff to get out? Like how long's that process?
Yeah. So again, that's really individual. That's like how long is a piece of string? And what you're doing there, but 3 to 6 months on average to kind of shift the gut microbiome and heal it.
That's longer than I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, we can make difference within 48 hours of what we eat. But if it's not kept up long term, quite often it reverts back. So again, it's in anything in life, isn't it? It's consistency. Quite often, especially in January, we see this massive, like intense push on health, and in February, say fall off the wagon. And it's about that consistency over intensity every time with diet. Yeah,
definitely small. It's what do they call it? Something gains. Losing track of what I'm trying. Incremental gains. Yeah. Got there. I thought I was going to have to move on. Managed to summon it from the depth of my memory. Yeah, incremental gains, isn't it? So it's those small changes that add up rather than a big, Yeah. And I guess to a degree, that's probably a little bit, different people handle things different way. Yeah. Another good question for you, really. Is there a benefit to like cold turkey in it?
Again, it depends on your personality type. So again, relating this to me, I love chocolate. Like, chocolate is life. But if there's a box of chocolates in the house, I will finish every single one of them, where other people can sit and have one a day.
No, I'm the same.
So I don't have it in the house. So that is I'm almost cold turkey, because I can't do that. Other people, not so against listening to your personality type. An interesting stat though, people that go on a diet and cut everything out, so a really restrictive diet in January, 85% of those that lose the weight put the weight on within 2 years again. So again, people who are too intense and too restrictive quite often is not long-term sustainable. So I would always recommend small habits, daily steps every time.
It's a case of changing your lifestyle permanently, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than, and I think that, even the wording, like the January thing, the new year, new me, even the word diet.
Yeah.
The word diet signifies to me a temporary thing.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I'm going on a diet. The same as I'm going on a walk, and when I'm back, it's over. I'm going on a diet for whether that's 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever.
Yeah.
But there will be an end to it.
Yeah.
Whereas fixing your nutrition is like, well, that's how I am now.
It is. It's a lifestyle choice. It's a lifestyle change. And again, talking about new year, new me, massive bugbear. And the last few days I've been struggling to put a post out on Instagram. I normally post daily because I don't want to fall into that category of, get on this diet for January, because I don't want that. And most nutritionists or most the kind of diet industry have some element of that. But it's not sustainable. It isn't a lifestyle choice. It's a January choice.
Is that a thing for you though, Sophie, between like business and ethics, where you're like, because undoubtedly if you were to push that now, you would make sales.
I would.
Because that is how we're lined up as a society.
I can't do it.
No,
I can't do it. No.
The reason I brought it up, there is like a reason to why I said that. It's because I've said this on several subjects, that when it comes to people that are seeking help, is that a GP is not a specialist, they're a general practitioner. And just to highlight the point that really not everything that the NHS say, you can't just provide its gospel.
No.
If you go to the doctor because you're struggling with your mental health and you're not addressing the whole package, and this goes to, it's not just people in the trades, this applies to everybody. If you're struggling with your mental health, it's that reflection of your lifestyle to go, okay, I'm struggling with my mental health. I've recognized that. And that is a brilliant step one. But then to examine, because if you go to the doctors and you say, I'm struggling with depression or anxiety, their reaction will be to give you some form of medication because they will treat the symptom. You have to look at the cause. And that's why I was so interested in having you in for a conversation, because what you're talking about is a root cause. And these are the things that, to me, need the attention.
Absolutely.
And it's not to throw shade at the NHS, because they're trying to do what they can do, and they focus on short-term resolution and it's quantifiable results. Whereas with things like nutrition, it's like you said, it's a long-term thing. It's not very monitorable for them. But we have to realise as people, tradespeople, non-tradespeople, men, women, whoever, there's a responsibility on ourselves to look after ourselves. And again, like society-wise now, it seems to be so common to put that on other people, to think, well, I'm not well, so I'll go to the doctors. But have that little bit of reflection and think to myself, if you're struggling with your mental health, how is your nutrition? How are your habits? Are you getting exercise? Are you indulging in drink and drugs and all the rest of it? These are all the things that will lead to that mental health package. And there's loads to it.
Absolutely.
Nutrition's a big piece by the sounds of it. And again, I mean, you could go down a rabbit hole with this, couldn't you? When it comes to nutrition and bad nutrition choices, they go hand in hand with things like drinking. Because again, me personally, if I don't drink a fat lot these days, but if I do drink the next day, I want bad food. Why is that?
The question. So quite often when it comes to drink, okay, let's go straight to alcohol from the start. Alcohol's a neurotoxin. toxic to our nervous system, toxic to our brain. People don't like hearing that, but it is.
Okay.
And I think if it was discovered now in this day and age, it would actually be a Class A drug. But because it's a societal norm,
highly taxed.
Yeah, highly taxed, makes money. It's accepted. Actually, the next day when you are hungover, quite often you're craving, so you're dehydrated and you've got an electrolyte imbalance. So electrolytes are important for normal function, absolutely everything in the body. So when you've got an electrolyte imbalance, you tend to crave the salty, the really sugary stuff to replace those electrolytes. And that's why after a night out, your burgers, your chips taste just fucking amazing.
Incredible.
Don't they?
Yeah.
And that is the reason for that. Your body's searching kind of for those electrolytes, for those nutrients, but obviously we know not very nutritious food. And again, that leaves you feeling even more shit when you're hungover, when you're having the crap food as well. And alcohol's a really good one, to link to mental health. I don't know if you've kind of talked about this before on podcasts.
We've touched. I've had several guests that have either been alcoholics or gone sober, and we've talked about relations. I was looking at a study actually just before Christmas that said that people that indulge in drink and drugs are up to 8 times more likely to take their own life. And again, it's these contributing factors towards mental health that it's got some really clear links that people don't seem to want to explore. Yeah. It's like struggling with your mental health and admitting that is a huge step. Yeah. It really is. And all credit to anyone that sort of puts their hand up and asks for help. I'm 1,000,000% behind that. But then it's that, well, have a little look at your lifestyle. Are you going out drinking every weekend? Do you feel terrible on a Monday? Yeah. And alcohol, it's got interesting that you said that about the Class A drug, because I'm 100% behind you on that. Because there's no other drug out there where it's socially acceptable to go and participate in and get yourself in a state where you're stumbling down the high street. Yeah. But if it's drink, people sort of go, "Oh, he's drunk." It's kind of like it's normal.
It's accepted, yeah. But it's a massive attack on your nervous system. So if you are prone to bouts of depression or anxiety, it's a massive trigger. Again.
Yeah. It's a depressant, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And linking that. Go on, sorry.
Do you drink?
I do if I go out. Doesn't happen very often with kids. I cannot remember the last time I had a drink. I didn't have a drink in December. I've just lost the love for it. And my problem is I drink not to get drunk, but I drink socially. So if I'm at my mates, I'll have a few. At home, it just doesn't interest me. I've just got no desire for it. Maybe it's because I know kind of what it does. I don't know.
I can resonate with that.
Yeah.
I can resonate with that.
So I do if I'm out. I can't remember the last time I drank. Yeah. But again, going back to alcohol and the gut microbiome. So how I like to describe this is, imagine putting alcohol hand gel on. So we did that quite a lot in COVID, through lockdown, whatever, to kill the bacteria on your hands. Now what happens when you ingest that to the good bacteria in your gut?
Okay.
We're killing it. So again, the less diverse our gut bacteria, the less good gut bacteria we've got, the more likely we are to suffer with depression and anxiety, or that be a trigger for it. So again, it's like a double whammy.
Does it kill the bad bacteria too?
It can do. So it can wipe out your gut microbiome if you have too much alcohol. I can't put a positive spin on it to say it can wipe out bad bacteria.
No, I mean, what would be the effects of having no gut microbiome? Is that possible? Is that
you die?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So your gut 70% of our immune system lives in our gut microbiome. 70%.
Okay.
So it's directly linked to your immune health. So you'd be susceptible to all kinds of things as well. And that's why, again, a little bit off topic, but antibiotics wipe out most of your bacteria in your gut microbiome, and then you become more susceptible to other illnesses as well. But there's a link with antibiotics and mental health as well. So I don't know if you've seen anything.
That's not one I've touched on, no.
Yeah, so again, being linked to poor mental health through, again, not having the right bacteria that connects to the brain. It's just wild, and it's a whole other topic.
Yeah, I can imagine. So antibiotics wipe out your gut microbiome.
Yeah.
And obviously then that links to mental health, and there's a link between mental health and antibiotics.
Antibiotic use, yeah, regular antibiotic.
I mean, to be fair, I have seen like antibiotics, and on the list of symptoms, it's like, can cause suicidal thoughts. Yeah. Which, I mean, imagine that. Like, it's to put that as a recognised side effect, it probably says everything you need to know, doesn't it?
Yeah, and again, something that's not really talked about, but maybe should be a little bit more. We should be more open about it.
Yeah, we if we went down the medication medication rabbit hole, Sophie, that would be a whole episode of its own accord. Because I'm big pharma and all that lot. It's I've got some strong opinions on that one.
Yeah, I'm about big farm, not big pharma.
I like that. Yeah. Big farm. Is there? So, out of interest, where do you shop?
I shop at Sainsbury's. Please sponsor me. Okay. Reason being, they do a massive organic range and single ingredient food. They've got some of the best quality, I think, food out there. Also shop at Farm Shop locally. Did shop at a baker's on our high street, but no longer do that, as we know they're not baked in-house, a lot of the stuff. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so mainly Sainsbury's, just because of their range of organic food, really.
So organic foods are good?
Mostly, yeah.
So if you can, go organic.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a cost to that. It's more expensive because it takes longer to grow. One of the
questions, that's going to be one of the questions I was going to ask you. Is about affordability when it comes to good nutrition.
Yeah, and it's a difficult one because, again, if the food's cheaper in your ultra process, then that's going to be the obvious choice. But actually, it comes down to education, being able to prep your food yourself again, and you can get some really cheap options. And again, potatoes have been demonised, but actually in terms of nutrition, a bag of potatoes is up there. So again, cooking from scratch potatoes, your veg, nuts are a brilliant one, not your salted or flavoured ones. And actually, this is about salted nuts and tradesmen.
Please do. I was going to say, you've got some tradespeople related sort of nutritional bits. Let's jump into that.
So 21% of tradesmen skip breakfast and lunch in the UK, and most substitute with salty snacks on the go, salted peanuts being the go-to. And that is from a tradesman insurance company, apparently, and apparently it's quite it's a well-known one, so
salty nuts are pretty good. I would have actually thought that they weren't that bad for you, but they are.
No, not that bad, but if you're substituting your meals with a range of nutrients for salted nuts on a daily basis, then there's going to be a few issues there,
I think, do you know what? Skipping meals is a big one in the trades, huge. Whether it's skipping... Actually, again, jump onto another one. While I remember, so much to ask you. What's your thoughts on like these fasts that people go on? Because that was a fad.
Yeah.
Again, like 8-hour fasting or eating windows. That was the thing, wasn't it? What's the crack with that?
Okay, so again, completely individual. Some people, it's actually amazing. It can really change around their life and how they feel about food, and kind of almost put a bit of a routine in with food. For other people, it's quite detrimental. So if you have a really kind of high energy output job, which I'm guessing most tradesmen do, and actually fasting can make you want to crave those kind of ultra processed foods, salty foods, etc. Fasting's really good for resetting the gut microbiome.
Okay.
If you don't have a high energy output. So if you've got like a period of rest, say you've got a week off work, doing a day's fast or a couple of hours fast might be really beneficial for you. Time restricted eating or eating windows. So the idea of that is, if you are delaying your eating and giving your body a rest, it gives your gut microbiome a rest. So it kind of helps it reset, renew, rather than putting bits in.
Okay.
And it's really good for your immune system long term. Lots of data for that. Some people find it awful and choose not to do it. So again, that's a really wishy-washy answer, but it is completely individual to you as a person.
And the answer's the answer, Sophie. Some of these things are a bit, up and down, aren't they? It's not as clear cut as yes or no.
Yeah.
Yes, do it, no, don't. But I think it was last year I saw a few people that seemed to be going on this, that they were doing like water only fasts for like 2-3 days.
Yeah.
And then banging on about Himalayan salt for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, is there anything to that?
Yeah, it depends what you're doing it for. I think fasting was glamorized for weight loss. And again, I've got a massive bugbear with weight loss because it's one number. It's not your overall health. It's something that's easy measurable, so people fixate on weight.
Yeah.
But actually, what are you doing to get to that weight? Does it suit your body? Is it long-term sustainable? Is it kind of suiting your overall health, or just to get to that goal weight?
So put the scales away and go and get yourself a poo chart. Basically.
Yeah. I forgot what we were talking about again. Yeah, the fasting. So if you kind of want to do a complete renew of your gut microbiome and refresh your immune system, then yeah, a fast might be good. But unless you've cleaned up your diet first, if you're eating ultra processed foods every day and then say, okay, I'm going on a 3-day water fast with Himalayan salts, you're not going to feel the best, because you're so used to getting that sugar rush, so used to getting the salt. And
that was it was going to be another question of mine, is about like withdrawals, because when you liken a lot of the chemicals that are released in things like the salts and the sugars and all these like processed foods, when you liken that to drugs, a lot of the time, if you go just cold turkey, because I know people that have done the fast, they complain about headaches and that kind of thing. So question for you, possibly from a personal viewpoint, if you were going to do a fast, would you be better off first focusing on your diet for a few days to sort of preload yourself with good things and then doing a fast?
100%.
Rather than fasting off the bad? Yeah.
100%. And I think more than 2 or 3 days as well, especially if you have a high sugar diet. So like cold sweats, shakes, anxiety, it can be kind of a come down from all the sugar. So I'd massively suggest doing that if you are thinking of doing a long-term fast, to kind of wean off the sugar first.
Good bit of advice. I like it. Nuggets of information for you guys to take home.
Small steps.
But yeah, honestly, there's so much. I mean, just out of interest, like business-related question, have you ever considered targeting tradespeople with what you do?
I haven't.
Until today.
Ding. Yeah. No. I set out 18 months ago to raise awareness, and it snowballed from there. So there was, I can't say no direction, because I just spurted out what was my passion and kind of what I believed in. But if I was to diversify, maybe tradesman is a good area to go in.
It's definitely an area of problem. Whether that would be an easy sell for you would be a different thing. But I mean, we might as well put this in here now while we're talking about it. If there is anyone listening that wanted to reach out to you, how would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, either via Instagram, always kind of responding to messages on there. Email, I can pop it on the below.
Yeah.
Email,
all your details,
website, www.thebasicnutritionist.co.uk. All my courses and personalised services are on there as well. But yeah, happy to have a chat. I'll always pick up the phone and discuss needs, whether I can help or not.
It's one of the big things. I've been sort of an advocate for, really, with people in the trades. You touched on it earlier, is the mindset of putting yourself first, because like you said, self-employed, without you there's no business. And I've said this analogy a few times, not even an analogy, a few times, where, like myself, for example, in my business last year, I invested maybe 2.5-3 grand on new sanding equipment. Didn't think twice, because I could see very clearly, if I improve on that tool, that's going to increase my speed there, and I can quantify that from invest 3,000, but I'm going to gain time, which means I'm going to gain money, I'm going to make money. So it's very easy for me to go, didn't think twice, no problem. Would I think twice about going, I'm going to hire a nutritionalist? Yes. Because what I would think is, well, can I afford it? Is it a priority? What else can I spend that money on? Which is mad to actually think like that, because the best thing you can invest in is yourself.
Health is wealth.
Absolutely. And I would imagine if you're in prime physical condition, then your output's going to be more. You're going to turn over more work. You're going to get jobs done more quickly. You're going to have a better home life. People at home are going to benefit from that, healthier version of you. So it's crazy how we frame it in our minds when it comes to investment, I think.
Massively.
Because that, investing in things like a nutritionalist, and another great one, a therapist. You talk about mental health, is how many people actually have therapy. But again, it comes down to, it's like 60, 70 quid an hour. Can I really justify that? Or why wouldn't you? Because you'll happily spend that money elsewhere.
Yeah, it's something that I come across all the time. Oh, don't know if I can afford a course, not sure whether to go for it yet. But then again, I've got my nails done, we'll go and spend 40 quid on having the nails done. It's like, that's a short term, but because it's aesthetic and it's something you can see, quite often that kind of trumps, like you said, like your new tools, the same thing. that trumps kind of what's going on inside. And again, it comes to therapy, the same thing.
Yeah.
If you can't see it, it's almost like we don't think it's important, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, it's that grab and go culture, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's can you put your hands on it? Can you feel it? And can you quantify the results easily?
Yeah.
Because you say investing like me in the sander, can I quantify it? Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
Like it's there. I can use it. That job that was going to take me 4 hours now takes me 2.
Yeah.
I can multiply that over the course of a year. I know it's going to pay me back.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I don't think about it on myself, where I think, well, if I invest in myself and I make myself stronger, fitter, whatever it might be, I can maybe work a bit longer, or I can get the job done quicker because I've got more energy.
Yeah. Equals
Equals money. That's common sense, but I don't think, I mean, that's me sat here going, I don't think of it that way.
No, I think that's the
should
majority
do.
of people. Because there's no end result. It's a constant work in progress. Nutrition, physical activity is something you have to keep doing. There's no kind of like, like shiny tools at the end of it. It's just something you've got to keep up. It's consistent. I know I keep coming back to consistency, but I think as a culture, we really struggle with consistency, and nutrition, lifestyle, exercise. It's all about consistency. And we are after kind of those short-term fixes quite often. They don't work.
No, they don't. I'm going to put you on the spot now, Sophie.
Oh, go for it.
What I want to do, I want to ask you, and then we're going to get onto these questions. I think I might have covered some of the questions that have come in our previous conversation, but what I want to ask you is, can you give me, like, and I've literally thought this up on the spot, so I'm not hijacking you with it, but can you give me like a decent 3, not even 3, let's go breakfast and lunch, because evening meal, people are grown adults, you can sort yourselves out. Can you give me a breakfast and lunch for a person typically in the trades that would be easily accessible or plannable and is going to give us that energy that we need to get through a hard day?
Okay. Definitely a good one. And again, porridge had some bad rep recently, and I don't know why. A good organic porridge oats to start the day.
I guess we're not talking about like golden syrup flavoured microwave porridge.
Fast release energy. So again, huge sugar spike, huge dips, and not going to sustain you long term. So your big jumbo oats, old school oats, again, cheap as chips ones, nothing fancy. Milk, get some protein in there. So some peanut butter if you like peanut butter, nuts, seeds, fruits. Again, really supporting the gut microbiome. So I haven't touched on this yet, and I don't know why, because it's the most important with gut microbiome. So the more plant foods, so single ingredient plant foods you have, the more diversity you're likely to have in your gut. So again, rather than having, and I know people who work or take their food to work quite often have the same things every single day.
This is what I'm,
So diversifying that. So even things like if you take an apple every day, switch it up to have a banana, an apple, or an orange one day, that can have a huge effect on your gut. So those tiny steps, equal huge things. Anyway, off topic. So going back to porridge, again, loading it to your full, so you're not like to snack throughout the day.
So a big bowl of porridge is okay.
Big bowl of porridge, I'd say, if you are physically active, physically demanding job, lunch, this is more tricky if you're not preparing.
Let's say we've got our act together and we're going to prepare. We're not chefs, right? So something relatively simple that's going to be filling, and we can take it with us and jump in.
Okay, fine. So wraps, so there's a brand of wrap that's non-UPF. There's only one brand.
What's UPF?
Sorry, ultra processed food.
Okay, shortened it. Sorry. I should have known that one.
So there's only one brand of wrap that's non-UPF, and it's called Crosta and Molica, and it's in all the supermarkets now. One brand. All the others contain ultra processed foods in your supermarket.
In a wrap.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Something you don't even think of.
No, I didn't. That's really surprised me.
Supermarket bread, as far as I know, maybe more now. Only one, Jason's sourdough bread, the only non-UPF bread in your supermarket.
No way.
Other than the bakery, if they do non-UPF, not all of them are. So this is what we're up against.
Okay, sorry, I've interrupted you there. It's blown my mind. Yeah.
So again, Jason's sourdough or Crosta Molica wrap. Jason's sourdough bread for a sandwich. So again, let's not overcomplicate it. Bit of chicken breast, bit of salad. If you can give 3 items of salad, again, given that gut microbiome diversity. Again, mayonnaise, only one brand of non-UPF mayonnaise called Hunter and Gather. Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
I love mayonnaise as well.
Yeah.
Damn.
So going for protein, chicken, even cheese, most cheese are one ingredient. 3 types of salad. And then for avocado, if you like avocado, great in a wrap, really high energy, but nutrient dense. So again, if you've got a high energy output, perfect avocado. On the side, nuts and fruit. Again, loads of single ingredient whole foods there. Easy to make, literally a 4-5 minute job.
I noticed you haven't mentioned like pasta or rice at all. Are they okay or?
Yeah, pasta most of the times only 1 or 2 ingredients depending on kind of the type that you get. Fine. I'd go for whole wheat pasta just for the extra fibre. Again, fuller for longer. The more fibre you have, the fuller you are for longer.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah. So again, with your porridge in the morning, that is fibre dense with all the different fruits and seeds. Again, fuller for longer. I haven't read it out yet, but the stat on my iPad that I brought in was, I didn't I? 21% of tradesmen skip breakfast and lunch. So again, really nice one to get started with.
When you say that, I do that so often, you know. Mostly, so I've got lads that work with me or for me. When they're on, I tend to have breaks more because it's a bit more structured because I know I've got to give them a break.
Yeah.
When I'm working solo, so often I'll get to the point where I'll actually hit midday, 1 o'clock and think, I'm all right, you know, I'll just work through. Yeah. And at that point I am, but by 3, half 3, 4, and if I'm honest with you, a common trap I fall into is that I'll skip lunch, and then by half 3, 4, I'm starving on the way home. So I'll stop at a garage or I'll stop at a Greg's, and then I'll binge, not even binge, but I know I'm going to grab something quick that I can eat while I'm driving and that's going to give me that, like, try and sort of level me out so I don't walk in the door exhausted. And that's why I guess what I should be doing is eating even when I don't think that I need to eat in terms of craving the food, but my body probably needs it. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Some regulation of your meals a bit. But again, it kind of falls by the wayside because you're too busy.
But am I really? That's the thing. It's a difficult one. We're all, I think, particularly in the trades, we're normalising it ourselves. And it is one of, for want of better use, but it's one of my resolutions this year, is to address that. There's a few things this year that I'm completely planning on addressing, and that's some of it is the way that I prioritise and allocate things, because generally, as I said before, everything to do with me, low priority, everything to do with work and output and all that, which is mad because if I break down, I can't do any of it.
Nope.
So yeah, definitely one to look at, but yeah, great advice. Perfect. Should we get onto these questions that were sent in?
Oh God.
It's nothing too bad.
Okay.
There's nothing too bad, I don't think. Right. What did we have? So over Instagram, over the past couple of weeks, I've put some questions out a couple of times to people that might want to ask Sophie a question about nutrition. So if you put a question out, here they come. So the first one on the list, you'll love this one. You'll love this one. Are Monsters or energy drinks bad for you?
I could do a whole episode on energy drinks.
Sophie says, no, they're fine. Carry on.
Yeah. So energy drinks, are a source of fake energy. So you have an energy drink, caffeine, sugar normally, huge energy burst, like absolutely buzzing. And then you experience the dip. And when you're in that dip, your body's looking for that same level of energy again. So you tend to go for another energy drink. And it's a massive cycle. So your blood glucose shoots through the roof, and which is a massive strain on the body. Okay,
so me personally, I am partial to the odd energy drink. I'm going to confess all. Yeah. But I do go for the sugar-free ones. Okay. So is that half as bad?
Again, the common misconception is that diet drinks are better for you than sugar.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, artificial sweeteners are gut disruptive. And again, I feel like I'm not giving any answer. I'm just telling you what's bad, which I don't mean to be.
No, it is what it is.
The food system is screwed. And artificial sweeteners, again, the body, when we're taking artificial sweeteners, recognises it as sugar. And when we're not getting the sugar in, it then goes, okay, well, I need that sugar now. So you're more likely to crave more sugar from having the artificial sweeteners and the diet drinks. So you go look for it elsewhere.
Damn, that explains a lot.
So energy drinks,
right?
If you really want good energy, I'd say, again, it's boring. It doesn't sell, does it? Is water with lemon. Yeah, I mean, boring, I know, but
Or the lemon.
Electrolytes again, and if you want that bit of flavour, so loads of people don't like plain water, need that bit of flavour, which gives you that little bit of a kick as well.
I'm guessing it goes without saying to stay away from flavoured waters.
Ideally, flavoured waters would be better than your Monster energy drinks, though. I would put that there.
I'm gutted. So whoever asked that, I'm gutted you did that because you've ruined it for me now. Right, okay. Next one. Best place to eat out. Now, I've also got, coming up after that, best takeaway. So I'm going to split this. I'm assuming I'm going to go with best place to eat out being restaurant.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
Chain-wise, you're limited, but Wagamama's.
Oh, yes.
That is my...
Right. I love Wagamama's, so I'm so glad you said that.
Everything's made from fresh. The ingredients are pretty good.
My wife's going to be buzzing about that as well, because we are partial to Wagamama's. If you were to put that on the no list...
Yeah. No, it's
right,
my
okay.
go-to as
We're
well.
good. Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Apart from that, kind of your Thai restaurants tend to be quite good, normally cooked from scratch. Unfortunately, most of our pubs and chain pubs at the moment, a lot of them have microwaves and a lot of it's reheated, especially the sauces, lasagnas, things like that. So it's a little bit sad because we don't actually know what's in them.
Do you eat out much?
Quite a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Because, I mean, obviously places like Wagamama's, for example, we both know that place, so let's use it as an example. I wouldn't think to ask any of the waitresses, like, what's in that? Yeah. Or do you go as far as, or is it on the...
Back in the day, I probably would have, but pretty much memorised the menu, so don't anymore. And I think if you're out for a meal, enjoy the bloody meal. Like,
gotta live a bit, yeah.
It's impossible in this day and age. Like, you know, if we were anal about everything we were eating all the time, it'd be so miserable because of the state of our food system. So if you're going out for a meal, I'd say have what you want. Control it when you can at home, what you can take to work. It's those micro habits daily. That one meal out isn't going to make a difference to your long-term health.
I'm so happy that you said that, honestly. That's made my evening. That Wagamama's, if you want to sponsor this episode, please reach out. Ironically, didn't Wagamama's, the chain, also used to own Frankie and Benny's?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know Frankie and Benny's are gone now, but it was probably one of the worst for microwaving food. So next one was best takeaway. Yeah. So I'm going to assume that includes your McDonald's-y stuff, as well as your average takeaway, Indians, Chinese's.
Yeah, again,
the rise of street food.
Yeah, a tough one.
Okay, it might be what is the least worst takeaway rather than the best.
Again, we haven't got a Thai local to here, but Thai is pretty good. They cook from scratch, use a lot of whole foods. So if you have a Thai local, that would be a good one. Chinese, however, they use a lot of ultra-processed ingredients, and actually the food that we get in the Chinese here is nothing that they eat in China. It's actually made for English people. And they use something called MSG. You heard of that before? Monosodium glutamate. So basically they put it in the food, and this MSG is so powerful, if you put it on cardboard, you'd want to eat more cardboard. So it's got an addictive property. So it makes you overeat as well. So that's in quite a lot of Chinese takeaways.
How is that legal?
There's so many things like that, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so Thai.
Thai's
what I'm going to push you on it, though, Sophie. If you haven't got a Thai, what would you go to next?
Oh, God. Possibly Indian. Just because of the spices that they use, quite a lot of whole foods. It is very rich. Actually, quite often it's whole cream, which is a single ingredient food. So that would be probably my next.
Okay.
I'm pushing it here, but yeah.
Least worst. Yeah, Let's go least worst. I'm not asking you to endorse. Right. I mean, I think we've touched on this one, but somebody also asked, does it cost more to eat healthy?
I think on the off, yes. the more you get to learn new dishes and the more education you have around food, especially if you use things like a slow cooker, which again is a dying art, but they are amazing. She can throw a ton of stuff in and get all the nutrients out. You don't have to cook anything. You literally throw it in a pot and it's ready after work. So again, probably a good one for a tradesperson.
Yeah, it would be.
On a whole, I'd say it probably is, yeah. You just can't,
it's the truth of the matter, isn't it? In a society that's set up as it currently is, there's not a lot that we can do about that.
No, and I think, again, like I said before, you vote with your wallet. So the more we all start buying the whole foods, the more it will drive the price down, and these ultra-processed foods won't have any limelight because we're not buying them. So supermarkets only stock what sells.
It's interesting. I mean, it sounds a bit pessimistic, but I think we're probably preaching to the minority. I think the majority of people set up in society now again continue along the path that they're going, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Personally, but it's a bit bleak. Anyway, I know you saw this comment before. Going to ask it anyway. Is McDonald's worth the taste?
That's up to you, isn't it? So, McDonald's... I actually think McDonald's gets an unfair rep because it's the one that's picked on as like, oh, Danny, McDonald's gives you this, that, and the other, when actually they're all just as bad. I think, like kind of the processed food chains. If you're having a McDonald's once in a while, again, not the end of the world. If it's something you're doing on 3-4 times a week, then probably a different story. So. Totally up to you with that one. I can't really. We all know what's in McDonald's.
It's hard to quantify that. Is it worth worth what? Is it worth the taste?
Depends what it means to you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's the one treat of the year, then yeah, absolutely. If it's the treat of 5 times a week, then no. Right, next one. You might like this one. It's a bit more long form. How long does it take to reset your gut for it to affect the body and mental health?
Ooh, that is a good one. And again, don't feel like I could give a direct answer. We know 3 to 6 months is kind of the healing process of, on average, for the gut microbiome. But actually, again, this is not science. This is based on kind of personal experience and clients. In a matter of a couple of weeks, just changing diet, people can feel better in their mood. Yeah. So we have things called mood food. And these particular mood foods are fantastic to give you kind of that boost, that feel-good factor. And as soon as you start eating those, again, within a couple of weeks, you can really feel the results of those.
What's a good mood food?
So avocados, and all nutritionists talk about avocados, but they are literally like a
They seem to have
food.
just come out of nowhere, avocados. Yeah. All of a sudden, everything was avocados, smashed avocados.
Yeah.
I'm going to hurt you here and tell you I've never, ever tried one.
Do it.
I've never. Can you liken it? Like, what does an avocado taste like?
It's like nothing else. So it's like, I'm not going to sell it here, and it's not going to sound great. You have to try it for yourself. It's a slimy texture.
Yeah, it's not encouraged me too much.
It's not green, but equally with a bit of chili flakes, like spicy food, bit of paprika, delicious with an egg. Okay. Real good food, yeah.
Avocado, mood food.
Yeah. Also, we're talking of mood foods, vitamin D. So this time of year, between sort of October and March, everyone in the UK seems to be low on vitamin D. It's a known thing. We know that's got a massive link to mental health and mood as well.
Sunlight, is that
sunlight? Low sunlight. Really good quality vitamin D supplement. Highly recommend everybody take between October and March for a mood boost.
Good tip. What else have we got here? Right. What benefits or negatives are there from going from consuming a lot of alcohol to consuming none at all? I was thinking one of them about like what negatives, but I guess if you were consuming a lot, you're not actually meant to come straight off, are you?
Yes, it's that withdrawal things again. Yeah. So possibly low mood to start with when you're coming off until you're kind of going through that adaptation period. Long-term benefits, repaired gut microbiome already. So that's in turn going to give you better immune health, better long-term health, less susceptible to illness, better mental health. So that's talking from kind of a gut microbiome point of view. Nervous system, again, huge impact on the nervous system. So again, better regulation of mood, better hormone production. Lists are endless with benefits of kind of cutting down or
So
coming off
absolutely,
alcohol.
the benefits are there to cut that. I don't think anybody would really be surprised by that.
No.
I think maybe the question was angled a bit at if you're regularly consuming a lot, would there be any downfalls to just going straight to zero? And again, I think that's possibly a little bit of a personal choice, because I know some people have to go straight to nil. But I know even like Alcoholics Anonymous, I don't think they advise, if you're full-blown alcoholic or high quantities of alcohol consumption, I don't think even they advise going to zero. But some people do have to, because they can't cut it. Yeah, exactly. It's either on or off, and if it's on, it's oblivion. So yeah, I guess that's a little bit subjective to the individual circumstance.
Yeah, I think as well, just another point with alcohol is inflammatory response. So we do have an inflammatory response to alcohol. So cutting down and that becoming less inflamed is better for overall health long term in every aspect. Inflammation is our biggest problem.
Do you know what? I really, genuinely, Sophie, I feel like an idiot sat here now, because I'm thinking everything you're saying seems so obvious. Like, what, in terms of the inflammation, and then because you're just gonna, if you feel better in yourself physically, you're gonna feel better in yourself mentally.
Yeah. And
the link between mental health and physical health is, again, it's really obvious, because I don't think anybody with poor physical health will have good mental health. I think that'd be a really difficult position to be in. Although it is possible in the reverse, you can have good physical health and poor mental health. I don't really feel it can be possible the other way around.
No, it's all so linked. And one of my biggest bugbears is that we separate mental and physical health.
Thank you. Yeah.
When we're all one being. It's connected. How is mental health a completely different subject? Why are we not treating it the same as we would physical health?
I think it was Ruby Wax once said that the stigma around mental health will always be there until we stop referring to it as mental health, and we just refer to it as health.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Which really rings true. Got a few more, although two of them, okay, the ones that we've done, benefits of fasting, we did touch on that. And then question mark, no food fast. So I'm assuming that would be what we've already discussed about. So we'll skip over that one. Does a healthy meal deal exist? I think we've covered that one. Sorry. And then finally, the final question, so you can breathe a sigh of relief, from Danny. Is an apple at 3 o'clock a natural livener?
3 p.m. we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Right.
3 p.m. in the afternoon. I'm assuming we're talking, let's call it the tradesman dip.
Yeah.
3 p.m. afternoon, running low on energy.
Yeah.
Is an apple going to boost you?
Apple doesn't get enough credit. I think apples are a great choice for that, because one, they are full, so 100 million microbes in an apple, which is hard to kind of comprehend, but we need microbes in our gut to boost our gut health. Apple's brilliant for that, so better gut health, better energy for a start. I would pair it with a protein though, personally, just to slow down the release, so again keeps you fuller for longer. So apples with a handful of nuts, I think that would be the ideal snack for an afternoon pick me up.
Apple and nuts.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that would be, the apple would be because of the sugars, would it? You'd assume that the sugar would give you the boost.
But it's a slow release because you've got the fibre in there. Apple's really fibrous. So again, yes, you've got the sugar to give you the energy, but slow release energy because the fibre's slowing it down, which is exactly what you want. Pair that with a bit of protein as well. You've got pretty much all the nutrients you need.
Superb. Question answered. Love it. Yeah, well, I mean, I think, I'm just trying to think if there's anything pressing that I haven't asked you. More importantly, I should probably just refer to you. Is there anything important around nutrition and gut health that we haven't talked about?
I know I could sit here all night and talk about it. I don't even know what else we could touch on. I think I could summarize kind of for ultimate gut health to obviously benefit mental health. Maybe give 5 tips.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's do that.
We haven't mentioned it, but water intake, dehydration massively affects gut health. And again, when you're busy, drinking water can be really hard. So again, popping lemon in if you don't enjoy drinking water on its own, could give you that little boost. So hydration, massive. Plant foods, single ingredient plant foods. So that is fruit, veg, nuts, seeds, legumes. Get as many as them in as you can.
Legumes.
Yeah, so peas, lentils,
Right.
that kind of
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, never heard them called that, but
Yeah.
okay.
Get as many as those in a day. So if you focus on water and getting as many in and many plant foods in, I think you're onto an absolute winner there for boosting gut health. Alcohol, again, source of inflammation. So again, just trying to reduce alcohol or having alcohol set days or days where you have complete alcohol free if you can. That could be a massive boost. We haven't really talked about sleep, but obviously that's not kind of nutrition, but it's hard to talk about nutrition without talking about sleep and exercise because it's all hand in hand. Poorer sleep can affect your gut microbiome as well. So regulating sleep, so having a set bedtime if you can. Really hard to do sometimes if you work late, etc. But can really, really help boost gut. What can I go for the fifth one? Stress management. I could go into that, but that's pretty self-explanatory and very hard to do.
Yeah. But, I mean, one leads to the other.
It does.
So
Everything's hand in hand. It'd have to be ultra processed foods, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, and again, it's not to say don't eat ultra processed foods. Cut it all out. Actually, making those conscious choices. So even if you're cutting down by 2 or 3 ultra processed ingredients per day, it's going to have a huge impact on your health long term.
Well, I guess the more you cut down, the better you're going to feel. Once you start to feel better, you're then going to think, well, what more can I do? So it would be a natural progression.
It's a snowball effect.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's is this stuff taught at schools?
No. There's no.
I could tell by your look on your face instantly when I said schools then, but it sounds like it really should be. I mean, I personally, after everything that you've sat here and said, I don't class myself as an unintelligent person, but I feel unintelligent for just being so ignorant of everything that you've said because it seems so obvious when you lay it out.
Yeah, and it's nobody's fault. There's a huge knowledge gap. We're not taught it in school. So unless you're seeking out your own courses or your own education, it's not openly available there for you. It's not taught in schools. Food technology, you cook a few cakes, people mess around. There's no real actual kind of life advice on nutrition. Like, what do you do when you finish school? How do you cook? What do you pick in the supermarket? There's absolutely nothing like that. And it's needed now because our supermarkets are so complicated. Our diet's so complicated. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's scary, to be honest. It does worry me in terms of where we're going.
Yeah.
Because obviously I've got kids, you've got kids yourself, and it's that. Well, if it's hard for me to understand, it's only going to get harder for them to understand because as it evolves, and it's all to do with profits. And it's not, I don't think that the big superpowers that are out there behind the supermarkets are there trying to actively hurt people. It's just money.
Yeah.
They're just chasing the money, chasing the profit lines, whatever makes the buck quickest. But it's certainly not putting the consumer first in terms of looking after people's health, making healthy food accessible. Unfortunately, I don't believe it's heading in the right direction either.
No, all we can do is spread awareness and when we can vote with our wallet because I keep saying it, but actually there is an example of this. A bit boring, but we'll go into it. Peanut butter company, this new rival peanut butter came on the market, no ultra processed ingredients. People went mad for it. Now, I won't name the name, but the other peanut butter company that kind of was the be all and end all before then changed their formula to match the new one that had come out. So
really?
Yeah, so I think the more we buy the good stuff, they're either forced to change or forced to get rid of the product. And I think that's the only way we can do it because they're so money driven.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting. So, again, it comes down to that taking a bit of personal responsibility for your choices.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'll be hypocritical to sit here and sort of preach as if I'm good because I'm probably, like I said, I'm at my worst position at the moment when it comes to my nutrition, but you've definitely given me a lot of food for thought.
Pardon the pun.
That's it. But genuinely you have. I think it's been really informative to just find out why. Because it's you get a lot of people shouting about, don't forget your nutrition. Nutrition's important. But then there's no substance behind it. But once you actually break down the whys, then to me, certainly anyway, the way that my mind works is I need that information to then clarify the importance.
Yeah.
If somebody tells me something's important without giving me the meat on the bones, I don't really,
Yeah.
it goes in one ear out the
Well,
other.
it's the why, isn't it? The why you're doing it. You need kind of a reason, otherwise it's just another thing to go over your head. We've got enough to think about.
I think just the inflammation side of it is worth sort of getting your act in order to
100%.
Because again, people, physical working, physical jobs, tradespeople, joints, bones, and all those kind of things, they are our most important tools. So you've got to look after them.
Definitely.
Sophie, massive thank you for coming in. Again, guys, if anyone listening wants to reach out to Sophie for her programs, for any more information, all of her details will be in the episode description below. Is there anything you want to finish up on?
No, just a massive thank you for listening or watching, and hope to speak to some of you soon. Hope you found the advice useful.
Right, we're off to Wagamama's.